Do you ever go back to Mexico at all, Robert? Or how does that work?
Well, not on a regular basis. No, I've been to Mexico a couple of times. Once to speak in near Mexico City in Puebla, but
Yeah.
I also went back fairly recently. I think a year or two ago, and I spoke at the basically their House of Representatives. Uh, uh, I was invited, to speak to that body about my UFO experience because they're also dealing with this subject UAP and thinking about whether or not they need any regulations to cover any issues that they might be having, such as we are. Uh,
Sure.
you know,
Yeah. That makes sense. That's kind of interesting that you've got to experience both in a sense, right? So, what difference, do you see, good and bad, like from how you felt, you know, Mexico is approaching it, and versus how we're approaching this?
I think I also spoke in Brazil to the Brazilian Senate,
Oh wow.
another government body in Brazil.
Yeah.
Uh, and I think both those countries, Mexico and Brazil, are looking at it differently in the sense that they have no issues inviting people who've had very varied experiences with the phenomena and having them present their stories. Uh, and so in the U.S. here, of course, we've got highly classified programs, which there's been a reluctance to reveal to the public. We know they're there. We've heard it from many sources. Many people have made claims about recovering air objects. I'm sorry, uh, and certainly bodies of extraterrestrial visitors. So, and all that remains classified, highly classified.
Sure.
Uh, but they seem to be more open in other countries.
More open to hearing. Yeah. I mean, that's interesting. So you've spoken to what we might deem the House of Representatives in Mexico, the Senate in Brazil. What about the American government? Who have you testified sort of but like behind closed doors, or
I did
how is,
testify to the Arrow Group. You've heard of Arrow, right?
of course. Yeah.
Yeah. So they, wrote to me and asked me to present my story to them for their historical record, and I did. At first, they said they were going to try to get me to come to Washington to speak to them in a skiff, but then that fell through. It turned out ultimately just a phone call from them to where I'm sitting right now. So, there
It
was
seems so
nothing.
strange.
There was nothing classified about my presentation, um,
Sure.
at least not from my standpoint.
Yeah. Did you feel disappointed by like that? Did you wish like they took you in and talked to you in person rather than seems very
Well,
informal?
I would rather have talked to them in person, but I was able to present a full PowerPoint presentation, which included over 22 documents
Oh wow.
supporting my case, and I recorded the entire conversation. By the way, it was over 2 hours.
Oh, really? You think
Um,
that'll ever see the light of day? Probably not, right?
well, no, I told them I was going to do it. They didn't ban me from recording it, so I've got the full recording. Uh, but I'm glad I did. At the end, I asked them a question, and they said, "What's your question?" And I said, "Are you going to check with the Air Force to verify my account of things here. And you might be surprised by their answer, but they said no. Uh, and the reason they gave is that they have tried to contact the Air Force on previous testimonies that they got from other Air Force personnel, and they got no cooperation, basically. That's what they said.
Wow.
So it's almost like they gave up on trying to get the Air Force to confirm any of the things that they'd heard from other, ex-military, ex-Air Force people.
Sure. That
Very
seems so
disappointing.
strange.
Very
Yeah, it's
disappointing.
very disappointing, right? Doesn't that seem so strange? Like, can't they force the Air Force? I mean, what's the whole point of the air? Like, that a agency could deny them that, like, not cooperate. I just didn't even think,
Well,
how is that allowed?
if you look at the regulation that Arrow is operating under, uh, one of their remits is to develop a coordinated effort with all agencies in the government to
Yeah.
reveal what they've got and also to cooperate. And so this seems like a pretty big hole in the way things are operating in Washington right now. I know the Congress people and senators that are looking for answers are also having trouble getting them from
Sure.
various agencies. So
Yeah.
I don't know how they're going to solve that problem. That sounds like they're having a lot of trouble with that.